Did you know that fate has nothing to do with your life? Yes, that's right. Carl Jung didn't believe that fate had much to do with the rest of your life. He said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Fate has nothing to do with the rest of your life, but it's up to you to awaken yourself to make it a reality. But how do you do that? What if I told you there are 5 invisible laws guiding your life without you realizing it? These laws might be behind your fears, choices, and even your success. In this video, you'll learn how to use them to your advantage to finally take control of your journey. The law of projection, the world as a mirror of your unconscious. The law of projection teaches us that what we see in others, especially what irritates or attracts us, is actually a reflection of who we are internally. Have you noticed when someone does deeply bothers you? Well, what's behind this is your own projection. In other words, the external world acts as a mirror, showing aspects of your unconscious that you often don't notice. The first step to understanding this is realizing that our reactions, good or bad, say much more about us than about the people around us. For example, when someone makes you feel insecure, perhaps that insecurity is already within you and the other person just brought it to the surface. The secret, then, is to observe your reactions and seek what they reveal about your fears and limiting beliefs. It might be difficult at first, but by understanding projection, you begin to see others not as enemies or allies, but as mirrors revealing parts of yourself. By transforming this perception, your relationship with others also changes, and the world around you begins to reflect a healthier and more balanced version of who you are. Now you might be wondering, and how can I apply this in my daily life? Well, the next time you feel irritated with someone, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what does this say about me? You'll be surprised to realize how much you can learn about your own patterns. Over time, as you apply this approach, projections begin to transform into powerful tools for self-knowledge. You realize that it's not others who affect you, but the way you see them. It's not an easy task, of course. Projection is a mechanism so deeply rooted in us that we don't always realize when we're reacting to something from the unconscious. But with practice, you begin to notice these triggers more clearly. A simple example, if someone you love constantly disappoints you, this might be a reflection of a part of you that hasn't yet learned to deal with frustration. If you look at this, instead of blaming the other person, you'll have the chance to heal these internal wounds. And the most interesting part, as you begin to understand and deal with your projections, the people around you begin to change. They stop bothering you because the part of you that projected these reactions is being healed. Life begins to flow more smoothly as you're freeing yourself from the constraints the unconscious places on you. And this, my friend, opens doors to an even deeper understanding about yourself, which naturally leads to the law of shadow. That's where things get even more intense. The law of shadow, the hidden part of you that needs to be recognized. The law of shadow is one of the most fascinating and challenging concepts. It tells us about those parts of ourselves that we prefer to ignore or even hide from others. These are aspects that don't align with our idealized image of who we are. It could be the anger we feel but deny, or even the fear of not being good enough. The more we try to push these feelings down, the more they gain strength and, in many cases, begin to affect our lives in subtle ways. The key is to realize that no matter how uncomfortable these parts are, they are part of who you are. For example, let's say you have difficulty accepting anger. You might try to repress this emotion, convincing yourself that it's not good to feel angry. But what happens? That anger will manifest in other ways, perhaps in anxiety or uncontrolled outbursts. The secret isn't to deny the anger, but to accept it and understand where it comes from. The shadow, therefore, isn't something we should avoid, but something to be integrated. By doing this, we transform destructive energy into something powerful and healing. The shadow is present in all of us in unique ways. Perhaps you don't realize it, but in many moments it's influencing your decisions. For instance, if you feel a strong aversion to a person who apparently did nothing wrong, it could be that they're reflecting something you don't accept in yourself. Instead of attacking the other person, the work is to turn inward and discover what in you is being projected there. This process requires courage, as it involves facing parts of your personality you'd prefer to keep hidden. The most interesting thing about the shadow is that it isn't just something negative. In fact, it also contains qualities that are essential for our growth. Imagine that you're afraid of failing, and this prevents you from making big decisions in life. However, this fear of failure might be a reflection of a great desire for success and excellence. By integrating this shadow, you become more complete, stronger. You stop being a person who avoids risk to become someone who faces challenges with wisdom. Integrating the shadow isn't a quick process, but rather a constant path of self-knowledge. As you challenge your own beliefs and allow yourself to be more honest with yourself, things begin to fit together in surprising ways. And this leads us to the law of individuation, because the shadow is one of the fundamental parts in this process of becoming who we truly are. That's where the game begins to change. The law of individuation. The path to becoming who you truly are. The law of individuation is like a map to true self-knowledge. It presents us with the challenge of integrating all parts of our psyche, both conscious and unconscious. Often throughout life, we accumulate masks and interpretations about who we are without even realizing it. Since childhood, we're shaped by external influences, family, society, school, and with that, we set aside parts of ourselves. Individuation is the process of bringing all these fragments together and becoming whole. It's not about being perfect, but about being genuine. To understand individuation, imagine you're building a house. For many years, you gather materials that seem good for your project, but end up ignoring some elements that are essential for the structure's balance. These ignored elements are the unconscious parts of your psyche that need to be brought to light. And by doing this, the house not only becomes stronger, but also more authentic. That's how it is with individuation. When you allow yourself to integrate your totality, you begin to live more truthfully, aligned with your purpose. Many try to escape this journey of individuation out of fear of the unknown or discomfort. After all, when you begin to question who you really are, the fear of confronting your own fragility and mistakes comes to the surface. But this is part of the process. Individuation doesn't happen overnight. It occurs gradually in small actions and reflections. Start with a simple habit. Instead of following your automatic reactions, ask yourself, is this really who I am, or am I just following an external expectation? This simple questioning is already a step toward your true essence. Now imagine you decide to take a bigger step. You begin to seek activities or spaces that truly resonate with your soul, without external pressures. Perhaps you enjoy art, but always saw it as something irrelevant to your career. In individuation, you begin to give space to these passions, allowing them to flourish in ways you never imagined. This happens because by reconnecting with what's deepest in you, a stronger, more secure, and more fulfilled version of yourself begins to emerge. Individuation is, then, the path that will bring you closer to who you already are but haven't yet recognized. When you follow this journey, more aware of yourself, you begin to see the world with different eyes. And as you advance, the next steps, such as synchronicity, become increasingly evident, helping to align your trajectory with the natural flow of life. The law of synchronicity. When life speaks directly to you, synchronicity is one of the most fascinating laws we can find in the journey of self-knowledge. It teaches us that nothing is truly random. You know that moment when you think of a person and suddenly they send you a message? Or when you find a solution to a problem exactly when you need it most? This isn't chance, but synchronicity, where the universe or life communicates with you in surprising ways. Carl Jung believed that these meaningful coincidences don't happen by luck, but because we're connected to something greater, something beyond our rational understanding. This connection isn't limited to small everyday events. It can manifest in moments of great transformation, such as when making important decisions. When you're in tune with the flow of life, you begin to notice signs and clues around you that would previously go unnoticed. Sometimes these signs might appear in books, casual conversations, or even in a dream. You don't need to understand everything right away, but if you pay attention, you'll see that there's a deeper intelligence operating. When this happens, it's as if the universe is saying, "You're on the right path. Continue this way." You can begin to notice synchronicity in your life if you pay attention to small details. A simple example is to pay attention to numbers that appear frequently. You might see the same sequence of numbers for several days in a row. Instead of ignoring it, stop and reflect. What does this repetition mean to you? Is it telling you something about the current moment in your life? By opening yourself to these signs, you begin to strengthen your connection with the unconscious, where the deepest answers are stored. This creates an alignment that, surprisingly, brings more clarity and purpose to your journey. One of the most effective ways to align with synchronicity is to learn to trust your instinct and the present moment. This might mean making decisions without having all the immediate answers, but letting yourself be guided by intuition. Have you ever felt attracted to a place, an idea, or a person without knowing exactly why? That's synchronicity in action. By following these attractions and intuitions, you begin to feel more connected to something beyond your logic and reason. As you delve deeper into this process of recognizing and aligning with synchronicity, you'll notice that the moments of connection intensify, and thus you'll be guided to the next stage of this journey, understanding the collective unconscious, a powerful force that's connected to all of us. This deeper understanding will further expand your perception of life and the way you relate to the world. The law of the collective unconscious, connecting with ancestral wisdom. The collective unconscious is one of the most powerful and transformative ideas that Carl Jung left us. It reveals that we all share a common background, a psychological heritage that transcends generations. This means that beyond our personal unconscious, there's a deeper layer where archetypes, myths, and symbols that all of humanity carries are stored. Imagine for a moment that we're all connected as if we were threads of a great cosmic tapestry, each with a unique role to play. These archetypes aren't just ancient stories, but living representations of universal energies and patterns that influence our choices, our dreams, and even our relationships. When you begin to explore the collective unconscious, you discover that it's present in every aspect of your life. Have you noticed how certain symbols or images impact you deeply, even without a logical reason? Perhaps you've come across a symbol that seems to have personal meaning to you, but that also resonates with other cultures and traditions around the world. This is the collective unconscious manifesting, signaling that something greater and deeper is being accessed in your psyche. These images and symbols over time help build your identity because they're like seeds that germinate within you, aligning your being with what is universal. This process of connection with the collective unconscious can be accessed in various ways. For example, you can begin to delve into ancient myths and stories. Do you know the myth of Icarus, who flew close to the sun and fell? What does it teach us about limits and the search for self-knowledge? Or the hero who sets out on a journey facing challenges and overcoming his own shadows? These myths aren't just stories from other times, but reflections of universal psychological patterns and processes that are alive within you. Reading and reflecting on these narratives can help you better understand the forces that move your life. Another powerful path to access the collective unconscious is through dreams. The symbolism that appears in your nights isn't by chance. Often, they bring to light figures and themes that resonate with ancestral archetypes. If you pay attention to what appears in your dreams, you can begin to perceive how the collective unconscious communicates with you. And the most fascinating thing is that by exploring these images, you not only better understand yourself, but also connect with a wisdom that's beyond time and history. Connection with the collective unconscious isn't just an intellectual learning, but an experiential process. By recognizing and integrating these archetypes, you begin to have a clearer vision of who you really are, not just on a personal level, but in a universal context. This opens doors to deeper self-knowledge and, consequently, a richer life aligned with what's essential. As you walk this path, you'll realize that life, with all its challenges and opportunities, is in constant harmony with the flow of the collective unconscious. And this prepares you for the final key of this journey, knowing how to use the 5 laws of the unconscious to your advantage. How to use the 5 laws of the unconscious to your advantage. Now that you've explored the 5 powerful laws of the unconscious, you might be wondering, how can I use this to transform my life? The answer lies in understanding and applying these laws in your daily life. The first thing to understand is that there's no more room for the view that you're at the mercy of fate or external forces. The laws of the unconscious are like a treasure map, and you hold in your hands the key to unveiling what's hidden. By recognizing them and learning to apply them, you gain control of your journey and finally begin to live more authentically, consciously, and aligned with your purpose. The law of projection, for example, reveals that the world around you is a reflection of what's inside you. Imagine you have a difficult interaction with someone who deeply irritates you. Instead of simply reacting, you can stop and ask, what is this person reflecting of me? This simple questioning is an application of the law of projection, as it puts you in control. Instead of blaming the other person, you recognize that deep down, there's something in you that needs to be acknowledged or adjusted. This not only facilitates your personal growth, but also gives you the power to change how you react to the world, transforming challenging situations into learning opportunities. Next, the law of shadow comes into play. You might ask yourself, how do I integrate the hidden part of myself? The answer lies in confronting and recognizing your shadow, instead of trying to hide or ignore it. This doesn't mean accepting your shadows passively, but rather acting proactively to integrate these unrecognized parts. For example, if you tend to be very critical of others, the first step is to recognize this and ask, where does this criticism come from? It might be linked to insecurities or unmet expectations. By recognizing this, you can work to transform this criticism into something more constructive rather than an obstacle. The law of individuation is the next step, and this is where things start to get really interesting. By integrating the totality of your psyche, conscious and unconscious, you not only know who you truly are, but also unlock your true potential. This means there's no more room for living according to others' expectations or the roles society imposes on you. By becoming who you truly are, you align with your life mission. And by doing this, your choices begin to reflect who you are at the deepest level, creating a life of more authenticity and fulfillment. Lastly, the law of synchronicity will help you realize that life isn't a sequence of random events. When you begin to recognize synchronicity, you'll see that situations, encounters, and coincidences have a greater purpose. But for this to happen, you need to be present, attentive, and open. As you notice that certain events or people emerge in your life as if they were there for a reason, you begin to perceive that you're being guided as if you were flowing with the rhythm of the universe. This brings you more confidence and helps you make decisions with more clarity, knowing that the universe is conspiring in your favor. And finally, the law of the collective unconscious will connect you with something greater than yourself. By accessing universal archetypes and images, you not only understand your role in the great narrative of humanity, but also find ancestral wisdom that transcends time. This wisdom is an invaluable resource that can help you make decisions more aligned with your purpose and with universal forces. By integrating all these laws, you're not just transforming your life, but aligning yourself with the flow of the collective unconscious, creating a richer, more meaningful, and harmonious life. Now that you've discovered the 5 laws of the unconscious, it's time to apply them in your life. Think about it. Which one can you start using today to transform your reality? Don't let the unconscious continue to be a blind force driving your life without your permission. The power is in your hands. Ask yourself, what are you waiting for to make this change? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue learning how to use the power of the unconscious to your advantage. Oh, and be sure to watch the next video, which will be on the end screen, and take the next step in your journey of self-knowledge.